Hi, thank you for joining me for May I Scraplift You today. And today's scrap lift, it comes from Shannon Blinn, who's One Scrappy Mum 71 on Instagram. You can see the layout I've chosen in the top right hand corner, and today I'm really excited to be using the brand new Spectrum Gardenia from 49 and Market. So I've chosen a picture of the kids at Gulliver's World, a local theme park, way back in 2013, February 2013, and it's them standing around a hot dog man. That's the only way I can describe him, really. And this became a bit of a tradition. Every time we passed him, they would pose with him for a photo. So I'm just following along with what Shannon has done with her layout. So I started off with the main square back in the background. That's one of the 6x8 papers from the 6x8 Foundations collection pack. And I have to confess, I took this collection pack purely because of this paper. I absolutely adore black and white stripes, be them horizontal or diagonal like this. So I'm using that as the background paper. And then I've chosen a couple of other papers to create the other strips. You've seen the first one I created using that red that fades into orange. And then there's a thin strip down the middle, which I've chosen this piece for, which has the pink and purple on, and Amelia's got some pinky purple trousers on and her pink gloves. So I thought this would work nicely. So just working out how to fit all those together, and then once I've done that, I'm going to start gluing them down. I want to use some washi tape as the main strip going down the centre. I'm pretty sure that's what Shannon did as well. So I just want to get this all adhered down. And if you hadn't noticed, I am actually using one of the papers for my background paper. And this is gorgeous. I said to my friend earlier, I could literally take a whole pack of this paper. I think it's perfect for backgrounds. It's the white solid, and it just has a little bit of mixed media. It's just very subtle, but enough to create interest in the background. So I decided to map my photo onto some scrap white cardstock. So here I am just trimming off the edges, and that'll just make the photo stand out a little bit more against those papers. So now that's sorted, I'm going to glue the photo down, glue the whole map down, and then, as I say, I can add that washi tape. And I've just gone into my stash. I've still got plenty of washi tape from years ago when I was scrapping, and I've just chosen one of those. I went for a black spot on a white washi. Oh, sorry, before I do that, I decided to create the circle elements. So I'm going with this All and Create stamp that you will have seen me using before, and just stamping that down the left-hand side, slightly overlapping that paper. And then I'm going to paint those circles. So I've used Archival ink so that it doesn't bleed when I paint over it. So here's that washi tape that's going down the middle there. And it goes almost from the top to almost at the bottom. And I've just torn the edges. So now I'm coming in with my metallic watercolours. These are similar to the Vicky Boutin ones, so if you wanted something, I would highly recommend the Vicky Boutin ones. They're lovely and pigmented. So I've gone with a pink, which I'm colouring the first two colours in, circles in, a red for the second two, and then a purple for the bottom one. And then you'll see in a minute I do start to blend some of those colours together. So just adding a bit of the red to the purple and red to the pink and so forth. Just making sure that I've got enough pigment. I'm very impatient when it comes to these. Really, you need to spray them and leave them for a couple of minutes to soften the top layer so that it's nice and pigmented. But I'm just too impatient. I can't wait. Once I've got an idea, I just want to get on with it. So there I am, just adding each of the colours to each of the other circles there. So just a bit of that red to the bottom purple now. And that's it. So now I'm going to go in with these laser cut elements. Now there are quite a few laser cut elements in this collection. I've gone with the essential laser cut elements because they suit my style more. They're more generic pieces rather than florals and botanicals. So first of all, putting down this piece, it looks like a piece of lace, and I've kept it as the full 12-inch length. So it's going to run right from the top to the very bottom of the page, on top of that washi tape, and I really like the pop that black brings in to that mat there on the left. And then I'm going to start working on the right hand side cluster. Shannon's got a lovely big like an ephemera piece, I suppose, at the bottom of hers. I just wanted to build up a little cluster there. So first of all, I think I'm going to use this notebook piece. I love that. And again, it's bringing that black over to the right hand side. and I find this pink ticket and I think that's going to work. And I'm at this stage now in my scrapping where if I see something I like and I know it's going to work, I just go with that. I don't try and overthink anything. I just want to get the layout created, and whichever piece I use, I know it will look nice. So that was my thinking. And you can see at the bottom there, I've added one of our brand new fabric Flair. This is a 1 1/4 inch fabric Flair, and it says Joy, and it's got pink watercolour background, and I thought that worked really nicely. So just building up a little cluster there with some of the ephemera pieces, and then I decided I want to use one of my printables that I've designed for the collection. So I'm going to go with that lilac circle that says my heart. So just cutting off the bottom bit so that I can get to that to punch it out with my 1 inch circle punch. So I decided I want to change that ring to a different colour because I want all different colours at the bottom. And I'm still not happy with that notebook edge. And this is when I remember that striped paper and that I cut some off the bottom. So I'm using a strip of that as my foundation to this cluster on the right hand side. Still thinking about using that notebook piece. Just roughing up the edges of that paper and trying to work out exactly how this is all going to lay. And then I move it to the side. So once again, just building up that cluster, trying to work out how it all goes together. And then I decide I want one of the label pieces. So this is a 1 1/4 inch circle label. And again, it's more black. It's just bringing a little bit more black in because I've got rid of that notebook piece. Although I do use a tiny bit here, as you can see, just jutting out to the left. So just adding that title piece on that I found before. It just says you bring the joy, and I think that works nicely with the kids. And instead of using that notebook paper, I decided to use some of the wax twine that I've got. So I'm just going to use 2 pieces, more or less the same length, and then staple them at the bottom and again at the top. I don't think I squeezed the stapler quite hard enough because they're quite loose. The staples didn't really hold them in place that well. So I do add just a dot of glue on each of the staples just to hold everything in place. And that works really nicely. So there we go. So now carrying on, messing about with this cluster, bringing it all back in again. I want to tuck that ticket piece underneath the torn paper, and then just getting that fabric Flair, the canvas Flair in place. I'm going to add an epoxy sticker to that purple circle. And then just checking the positioning of everything before I start gluing it all down. And I never know where to start when I create a cluster like this. So you'll see I start with the fabric Flair and then I'm having to pull everything out from underneath it. But that's not a bad thing actually, because the glue stays on each of the pieces so I can see where roughly to put it back. So there is method to my madness. So I'm just going around gluing everything down, and I realised that that epoxy Flair that I've created with the My Heart punch out from the printables, it sits lower than I want it to compared to the notebook paper that I'm putting down now. So I'm going to resolve that by adding some more washi tape to the bottom, and that just extends everything down a bit, and then it means that that lilac or purple piece sits much better there. I hope that makes sense. I know what I'm trying to say, but sometimes it's difficult to convey what you mean. So now I've picked up one of my very old Jelly Bean Soup alphabet sticker sheets, and I'm just going to spell out the title, which is Hot Dog Man. I won't make you watch all of this. But there I am, just finishing it off, and then I'm going to draw some lines and do my journaling underneath. And it just says what I said at the beginning. This quickly became a Gulliver's World tradition. Every time we saw this hot dog man, you all posed with him for a picture. So that's it. So now I'm going through my old stash just to see if there's anything I can use up on this layout. So first of all, I start with that LE Studio camera and also this little red puffy piece that says Love This. And that works nicely on the top of the photo. Then these are some enamel hearts that I've got. So I use a black one at the bottom there and then a silver one at the top of that cluster as well. Next, some enamel dots. Just one pink one, and then I find a heart one. I think this is an old Chamel set of enamel dots there. And then back in with my trusty ring binder hole punch. You can see this black card is solely reserved for doing these circles. I should really sit and just punch a load so that I've got them in a little pot. Probably be much easier, wouldn't it? So I'm just scattering those around the page, and as usual I've just created a slight bend in each of them, and that's where I'll add the glue to get them stuck down onto the layout. So just gluing them all down now. And then I decide I want to bring some smaller black pieces in, so I come in with my black Nuvo crystal drops in ebony black. First of all, I decide that that circular element on the left-hand side just feels a little bit too muted, so I'm coming in with the gold paint and just adding gold to the middle circles. So the other colours are still showing around the edge, but that gold just lifts everything really, stops it feeling quite so cool toned. So these are the ebony black Nuvo crystal drops that I was talking about. So again, just dotting those all around the page, just adding a little bit more interest around the place. Almost there with those. Just keep adding, you know, more is more. So now I'm going to come back with that gold paint and just add some very fine splatters in selected areas. They're only tiny little splatters, but they just bring that gold around the page and just add something to it. And then once I've done that, I have another look at the layout and decide that I want something else in that bottom right hand cluster. So I go back to my printables and cut out this red label shape. And then I want to nestle it underneath that epoxy flare, but that is well and truly stuck. So I have to end up cutting off a slight wedge at the bottom. I'm just doing there so that it nestles nicely. I just wanted half the label, and that just nestles nicely there. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Please check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in this fun hop. There's a playlist that Crystal Barrett has provided for us all. And I'll also leave Shannon's link to her Instagram there too. Thanks again. Bye.